host for today's Partnering and Parenting podcast. My guest today is Mary Ticiu, and I'm going to invite Mary to tell us a little bit about her and why she enjoys working with Youth Service Bureau.
Thank you so much, Mary. I do appreciate it. First of all, you've been partners in the community. The Stillwater community adores the Youth Service Bureau. I was familiar with you before I moved to town, and I've been in the Stillwater schools for over 20 years. I started in the high school as an assistant principal, and I currently serve at the St. Croix Valley Area Learning Center. But I work with juvenile justice initiatives and specifically helped with the Washington County efforts to try and create alternatives to suspension and options for kids other than incarceration. And Youth Service Bureau has long served in trying to divert from formal consequences to really creative, intensive interventions. So I've seen you on two different levels, both in the corrections avenue as well as in the school district support system for interventions.
Thank you for calling out that one of many areas that we care for kids. And again, just join in that partnership. We couldn't do it without our partners as well. So Mary, reason I was hoping that we could talk is just to tell me a little bit about how you, in your current role, interact with Youth Service Bureau. And really, I'm curious if someone wants to refer a child to Youth Service Bureau, maybe you can give us some guidance of how do you go through that referral process?
One child, one day, one at a time. And in each case, we follow the path that's best for the student or the learner. Different families have different processes. In some cases, they want to empower their child to do it all by themselves. Remember, I work with 9 through 12 plus. So some of my students are 20 and 21. Their parents won't refer them. And some of my students who are 16 and 15 need to have the hand held to even make that commitment or have the courage to step across the hall. But the most beautiful thing about the partnership with Youth Service Bureau is that they are across the hall. Being co-located services with the district and the ALC being a school within a school, we are literally partners across a corridor. The offices are adjacent to the St. Croix Valley Area Learning Center and are easy to get to. Literally, there's a drop box where students can each day choose to grab a piece of paper and refer themselves in self-referral, or they can also call in or make contact with their guidance counselors or their teachers, or come to the office and say, I need help. Quite frankly, during the COVID-19, Julia Geigel actually has a link posted on our website for our students, and it says, I need help. And underneath that link are all the resources that the Youth Service Bureau can offer, including other community partnerships. And that's part of the beauty about Youth Service Bureau. You're not competitive, you're creative and you're collaborative. And what you want is just the best for our students. And I appreciate that. I very, in the spirit of COVID, grabbing your heart, I appreciate that from you.
Yeah, thank you. I frequently call that out in all of my parent ed classes. I'll say it really does take all of us.
Mm-hmm.
I want to raise healthy kids, but it needs, I'm a firm believer in the village concept. It really does take all of us, which means all of our partners in care. You may meld better with a different therapist than what YSB has, but that's the joy of where we live and have that opportunity. Mary, thanks for calling out that now with COVID, how I can get my child care if that's something I'm really wondering about. So if I didn't have access to that website, do you have other ways that a family could reach out to YSB or that you recommend?
Absolutely. The phone numbers would be the best contacts, and all of us have created soft phones, but my cell phone is also a public phone. As principal for the ALC, you're welcome to call me, and my phone number can be posted after this podcast if you'd like to. It's not a secret that we do text and we do take referrals from families on a need to know basis, so feel free to use that resource. The website, and there's one more space where you can actually contact me. We have a Facebook presence for the St. Croix Valley ALC, and I have had students find me on Facebook and say, I need help now through Facebook Messenger, and we will get a wellness check or an officer en route immediately. by making that happen with a short distance. There is no reason to delay. If a student asks for help, that response will happen with immediacy and sometimes with great intensity. And I don't mean to sound ridiculous about it, but sometimes it's an immediate call that's enough. And then, that call gives that reassurance that the counselor can act tomorrow. But Julia and I are on a short distance between 2 points, and we talk to each other. Rebecca as well serves the St. Croix Valley ALC, and I have worked with Mike Huntley for years. So any of your staff I know will pick up my calls if I need to refer a student on behalf of a family.
Bless you. That is so true. Thank you so much. So you answered most of my questions, but now I just love to hear, what's a success story? What's something that because of our partnership, we really have helped care for a child and maybe even help turn their life around?
Well, I've said this before, and it's kind of profound, so prepare for this. But the Youth Service Bureau keeps children alive. You absolutely provide the resources, the soft landing, the kind and compassionate counseling that keeps them coming to school each day, knowing that they can cross across the corridor and find support within their school day. If you can imagine, these are often kids who need the reassurance that it exists, that there's somebody there on the edge. In the summertime, I know my students just long for coming back to school, not for content, not necessarily for curriculum, but for the relationships they develop with their teachers as well as with the Youth Service Bureau. There are many statistics. As a matter of fact, I had one of your social workers put together an at-risk criteria graphic. And what that means is that when you attend the St. Croix Valley LC, you're actually only able to come to my school if you are at risk. At risk could mean you're deficit credits for a year, or you've been a victim or a participant in bullying, or you've had an incident where you've had a chemical health violation, or there's been something where you had to address your own mental health. Whatever it might be, those things might to someone be called a deficit. To me, they're not. They enable you to have the access to the small school setting of our schools in a school or our alternative curriculum. The Youth Service Bureau then picks up that criteria in partnership with us, and is able then to deliver classes, support groups, and frankly, visit with children as needed when they cry for help. They don't have to go home lonely. They don't have to go home unattended. And we're able to meet their service needs with professionalism and care. And in some cases, it's kind of like a story my mother would tell me. I come from a long line of teachers, and teachers and educators tell stories to make a point. But she would say, Mary, just because the child she would say, Mary, just because the lion roars, it doesn't always need a steak. You may want to merely give it a good drink of water. And I grew up with these teachings, which are that sometimes the nourishment we need is the nourishment we want is not the nourishment we really need. Mm-hmm. And so in looking at what you do as a service provider for Stillwater and for the St. Croix Valley LLC, our students get a really good drink of water. And those who need further nourishment then can go for further counseling and therapy.
Yes. Oh, what a great story. Sounds like your mom was an amazing lady. I like that.
She still is. She's 83. Just to in the spirit of COVID, my mom likes to sew, and she also does beadwork. And we follow some of the traditions of First Nation. And in my life, at least, knock wood, I've been fortunate to study those things. But she created my new COVID mask.
I was going to ask if you had a mask. Oh, look at that! How cool! Oh, I love it.
My mother, she believes in sparkly things like a crow. I don't know. Do you know the story of the crow and the wolf?
Well, if you could tell me, wow, there's the wolf, huh?
That's my dog. Sorry, that's what live action podcasting is about.
That's great.
It's about sparkly things. I happen to be a crow, and traditionally in First Nation culture, the crow is the creature on earth that is very clever. There's nothing to discount about a crow, but they also like to find joy. They like to go look for that one sparkly thing in the snowbank and then find their way to spend time with it. And my mother, my daughter just came home, my mother sent me something to make light of something that's quite serious. And I think in taking that seriously, she's gifting me with her time and energy as an 83-year-old seamstress.
Beautiful.
On the other hand, the wolf is steadfast and honors the path and creates the space and puts forward a protection, like my dog did when someone walked in the back door, and creates a balance to my whimsical, curious, creative ways. And so they often say in First Nation culture that, at least the teachings I've been given, that the wolf and the crow are very complementary. And so I carry the story to you today, and I share on behalf of my mother, Ellen Leadem. My Corona mask carries the beadwork of a crow's touch.
Very beautiful. How's your mom doing?
Great. She's staying inside. She lives with my sister, who's also an educator, doing many Zoom conferences. She happens to be a special educator. So we're all in this together.